Good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Alex Buriak. I'm the Senior Vice President over here at Jet Lending. And as you may or may not know, I love making educational videos for our investors. So they can just go out there and make better decisions, be more efficient, buy more properties. It's not always about the financing. Sometimes the actual day-to-day things that you have to do for the deal can really help you buy more properties and make your buying times more efficient. So what I want to go over today is the responsibilities of both parties. Okay, when I say both parties, I look at it as buyer and seller. So most of you guys will be on both sides of this transaction, and you have to understand what you need to do to make it really efficient and easy, and what you have to kind of manage. Getting the financing, as you guys can already notice when you're working with Jet Lending, it's pretty easy. But dealing with the actual closing process when you don't know who is supposed to do what can make you add days on your closing times and stuff like that. And you have to understand, for you investors out there, a lot of houses that you're buying, these people are selling their houses. They don't do a lot of real estate transactions. They don't know what to do. They don't understand the process. Hell, I'm sure some of you guys have actually bought some properties. When you close, the seller thinks somebody's going to come in with a canvas sack with a dollar sign on it. It's just like, you just got to educate them. And you being better educated can educate your sellers more appropriately, your title company who you're working with, manage with them more appropriately, and then you be more efficient when you sell properties. Okay, so let's take a look at the seller's responsibility first, because I think that's going to help you understand what to do. So first thing the seller is responsible for, which they may not know, is a property disclosure. Okay, so what is that? Why is that important to you as an investor? So when you buy properties, whether you're buying directly from the seller or you're buying it from a wholesaler, it's really important that you get a seller's disclosure. Why is that? Because once you own the property, you have to disclose everything that's ever happened to that property. Okay, whether you don't know is not a good legal defense. Okay, so when you're buying these, always request that you get a seller's disclosure. Okay, has the property flooded? Is the garage door working? Anything they know that's bad about the property. It's good practice. Okay, we actually want to help our investors make sure that they're getting the things they know about. So we actually make our borrowers get a disclosure from the seller so they know what's going on, and that disclosure has to transfer forward to your end buyer. Okay, so you may, it's actually a true story, you may go into a property, it's like, oh, this property's never flooded, and you buy it, and you start talking to the neighbors, and they're like, dude, this property's flooded like twice, and you're like, uh-oh. All right, you have to disclose that. Okay, that's something you have to disclose to your seller or your buyer. Okay, so getting property disclosure is a seller's responsibility, but you knowing as an investor what they're supposed to do is important, because if you don't know that they need to do that, then you may never ask for it. You have to manage this process. You're basically herding cats through the whole process. So understanding who does what is important. The seller is responsible to clear title. What does that mean? All right, so when you buy that property, from either directly the owner of the property or like a wholesaler, that their job is to clear title. That is not the buyer's responsibility. One of the biggest things you need to understand is the TREC contract, and we'll do a video just on TREC contracts. But if you are willing and ready to close, but title is not clear and it comes to your expiration date on the contract, well, then that contract extends. Okay, it is the seller's responsibility to clear title. Whether it's an heirship issue or they're just not providing the right documents, understanding as an investor that it's the seller's responsibility to clear title. You know how to manage that process. Let's say, pick an arbitrary date. The property is supposed to close November 14th. All right, well, it's the 13th and you haven't heard from title. You should be pushing all parties, your lenders, your title companies, everybody that you're be the quarterback. Okay. Winners want the ball kind of thing. So even though it's not your responsibility, you should always be inquiring, saying, okay, well, title, where are we with this? Are we going to make the 14th deadline? Well, the seller hasn't given me this. So you're always moving forward. So though it's the seller's responsibility to clear title, you're still driving the ship. Okay. The seller's responsible for any conditions of the property that was agreed upon within the contract are met at closing. That's pretty obvious. So we're going to go over the buyer's responsibility in a minute, how to confirm that. They're supposed to cooperate with any kind of inspections or appraisals or anything like that. Within your contract, if you have to get like an appraisal or an inspection, but the seller's not letting them in, well, they can't do that. Okay, they're supposed to be having some sort of cooperation within the process of financing or whatever you agreed upon in the TREC contract or any contract. You don't have to use a TREC contract. Most people do, and you probably should. They are responsible for all the closing documents. They're supposed to attend closing. What that really means is, again, guide the ship. Make sure that, again, title company is the seller's agent, not real estate agent, but they don't represent the seller, but they do a lot of things for the seller. So you still should drive the ship. Hey, has title been cleared? Or we have a date. It's not your lender's responsibility to schedule closing. It's yours. Okay. It's really the seller's, but you should drive the ship. Okay. So your lender doesn't schedule closing. The title company scheduled closing. If you didn't pick the title company, that's an agent of the seller. The seller is supposed to schedule everything. Okay. So make sure that you're into the know. If you haven't heard from your team in a while, whether it's the seller's agent or the title company or stuff like that, always just be pushing the conversation. Do we have this? Everything okay? Are we doing this in order? Are we going to meet these deadlines? Things like that. So let's go over the buyer's responsibilities. Okay. One of the things, if you're in the using the TREC contract or not, you may have to document if you're getting financing. So asset-based lending, and what some people call hard money lending, it's still lending. Okay. So you can't write your contracts as cash. Okay. Because when title gets that, they're going to start opening title as a cash transaction. Once your lender tries to reach out to them, hopefully it's Jet Lending, but if it's anybody, they're going to call them and say, hey, we'd like to request an open title. Let's let my processors get with your title company. Hey, we're requesting a title. Here's our title our closing instructions, all the stuff. And title very well may not answer your lender because the contract is written as a cash sale. Okay, so you have to still document that there's financing involved. Get your title companies into the know of who your lender is, whether it's Jet Lending or a private money lender or whoever, that they have to deal with a lender so they can communicate on closing instructions. Okay, property inspection. Here's a story for you. When I was actually closing loans, I would make my borrowers go look at the property at the day of closing. Let's say they're closing 11 a.m. And this is a true story. I'd make them go check out the property. All right. My borrower was like, Alex, why are you making me do this? I'm like, just go. He's like, it's all the way in Galveston. I said, will you go look at the property? He said, okay. So I'm comping and doing stuff for other borrowers. I get this phone call. And he said, Alex, it's gone. I said, what's gone? He said, it's gone. I said, you're not making me, what is gone? He said, the house. I said, what do you mean? He said, the house is gone. I said, whose house? He said, the house. I said, what are you trying to tell me? He's like, Alex, I'm at the house. The house is gone. I said, what do you mean it's gone? So he FaceTimed me and he held up his phone. And all there was a lot and a concrete slab. The house was scheduled for demolition and no one knew. And if he would have went to closing without looking at it, he would have owned that lovely piece of property with no structure on it. And we would have lent to it. So always go look at your house. I should say property, before you close to make sure everything was agreed upon that was in there. I know a lot of you guys are buying distressed real estate and you're like, it's beat the hell anyway, Alex. What does it matter? go make sure there's nothing special added to that project. Okay. They were supposed to leave the appliances. Now they're all gone. Oh, there was a big storm the other night and there's a tree in the middle of the house. Just go make sure. Okay. So let's see. That's due diligence. That should be done, before you even contract the property. Make sure it's the right deal for you. Make sure your projections and profit margins are right. We're gonna have a video just on profit margins. Okay. You're filling up your contractual obligations. Your contractual obligations, just making sure that any monies that you agree to on escrow, option fees if you got it, and the money is there when you close. Okay, and we're going to go over that at the very end on how the money transfers. You got to secure insurance. Your job as the borrower is to secure insurance for closing. Most houses that you're going to buy, you just really need hazards with like builder's risk and stuff like that. And your lender is going to give you the insurance instructions and how to do the binder and stuff like that. Just follow your lender's instructions. But just know, as soon as you contract, you order appraisal, you are Johnny on the spot looking for insurance companies to insure the property, but as an investor. This is what confuses a lot of insurance companies. They'll write you a homeowner's policy. That is not going to cover your property. Like, oh, yeah, it covers every HO and then the policy number. It is not going to cover that property. If that thing got struck by lightning the day after closing, you got a problem. Okay, so you got to make sure that you use the closing or the insurance instructions your lender gives you, because it writes the policy for an investor. A lot of insurance agents that don't work with a lot of investors don't know that, or hopefully they don't know that, and you're not trying to write you policies that don't cover your property. But just know that insurance is a big deal, and that's your responsibility. All right. So the last thing you got to worry about is funding. Okay. This is how it works. So you work with your lender on funding. Everybody agrees upon a closing date. You go in there and you sign. Okay. This is how the transfer of funds work. So once the borrower or the buyer and the seller sign, the banks and the financial institution all need wet signatures. Okay, so they need originals. So the title company packages that up and they'll either carry it or one day over to the bank. The bank receives it probably the next day. That may take a day. Your funding, which is called table funding, once you sign, the transaction of funds don't happen automatically. It's not a wire that same day. It can take up to 3 days for the wire to be sent to the title company. Your job is not to make sure the money's there. Your job is to make sure your seller understands it. Remember, the house you're buying from them could have been the only piece of real estate that they ever bought. It could have been grandma's house and never bought it in the first place. They have never idea what a transaction happens. To make yourself have less stress, make sure, even when you contract the property, say, by the way, here are some of the things that I'll be doing. Okay. I'm going to be making sure I got insurance for the property. I'm going to be helping you, make sure we got the closing date. When we do close, just know that transfer of funds is going to be maybe 24 to 72 hours later. You got to understand that most people get upset in a negotiation and in a contract, not because people aren't performing what they said they do. It's that something happened that they're unaware of. Okay. If you really want to excel your business and become very efficient, you kind of have to be Captain Obvious. Okay. You have to go over things that you're like, you should know this, but you know how I feel about the word should. Every time you use that word, both parties are wrong. Okay. Don't forget the time you didn't know. So by the way, do you know that this happens? Do you know it's going to take maybe 3 days for it to wire? You will save yourself probably hours of feverish texts and phone calls from the seller. Well, if you don't have the money there by 12 p.m., I'm pulling out. No, they're not. They just don't know what to do and they're scared because everyone's afraid of the unknown. So stop making things unknown. Be very clear, be very direct as the buyer. that says, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what you should prepare for. This is how it works with every transaction you do. No matter if it's somebody who you're buying it from another investor, don't care. I'm going to go through step by step every time, no matter what. Okay. So those are some responsibilities of the buyer and the seller. Other things may come up, but those are the general topics, and those are general things that you're going to see. When you hit weird stuff, and you're like, uh-oh, I don't know if I need to do this or not. You can call us, you can text us, you can chat us up on social media. You can go to our website. We have a bunch of educational videos. We're just really big on education. That's why we do so many loans, because we just help people do things better and more efficiently. If you're doing better things, that means you're doing more properties. If you're doing more properties and I'm lending to it, I'm making more money. You're making more money. I'm making more money. It's win-win. Okay. So that's why we keep pushing out education. I hope this helped. I hope this sparked. Every of these videos, they're supposed to spark thought. Okay. They're supposed to thought, intuition. Like, I didn't think of that. If something comes to mind and I didn't cover it, chat me up on social media. You email at info@gentlelending.com. You could text. So a lot of people don't like calling people no more. You can text me at the 281-872-7800 number. Do whatever you want. That's why we're here. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this inspired thought, and I hope this helped you possibly become more efficient in your investment real estate purchases and selling. So I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you later. Okay. Bye.